Hello again, welcome back to another daily Binding of Isaac Repentance. It is June 25th, 2022. My throat's still sore. I don't know why. Just like there's an up and down, up and down, up and down with this thing. Maybe because I've been talking a lot, I guess, or something. Combination of talking a lot and might still have a tinge of a sore throat, but it's not like what it was a couple days ago or so. All right. So seed here is B1, 4D, 8J, 1P. So right off the bat, we got pretty good tears rate, pretty good damage. Whoops. We got the peeper, and we got a way to open doors and chests with just money. So that's cool, I guess. So we don't have to really worry about keys so much here. Speaking of which. So what's been going on today? Well, I had some things come up and stuff, so last night. As a matter of fact, after the Isaac video and stuff, so I think it's a good topic to talk about some things. I've talked about like pets and stuff like that over like a couple of videos or so, my opinions on them. What I think is appropriate, at least in my perspective, not like in general facts of life, but like in my perspective about certain animals that shouldn't be pets and stuff. And I've talked about that a bit, so and I think it's appropriate to kind of talk about some things about pets again here. Pets. See how I'm going to get started with this. So pets, they required a lot of care and a lot of affection and, you know, proper. I mean, essentially there's a lot of responsibility with having a pet. And as I'm like any kind of pet, and as such, you want to just give it to the best of your ability, you know, the best kind of life that they can have. And I'm saying that because pets, they, unlike humans, or depending on what kind of pet I guess you get like a turtle and it can last like 4 lifetimes or something crazy. But no, what I was going to say is, for the most part, pets don't live long. And so they have much shorter window of time than humans on average. And so like, you know, dogs, cats, rats, you know, stuff like that. And it kind of fluctuates depending on like the right genes and everything else to them too. And so as such, when you have a pet, you want to make every moment precious to them if you can. I'm not saying like you have to be with the animal, you know, on a regular basis and oh yeah, it gives me this. I'm not saying you have to be with an animal on a very regular basis, though you would probably have to if you have a pet. Or have someone to kind of babysit the pet for a bit. If you're gone somewhere or whatever. And yeah, it's when becoming a pet owner, you have to have some responsibilities. And so it can be a challenge. Like some people are not used to being pet owners. Others, it's like, you know, they have some experience. It just kind of, you know, everybody's different with their own regard of how to deal with an animal and how to adapt to things and stuff like that. It's all based on people's personalities and their views on life and all sorts of stuff, right? And so that's why I've talked about in one video about with the COVID stuff, lockdowns, people were going out and buying little puppy dogs. And so, and then they turn around and they return them back to some pound or drop it off to some pound or whatever when they either get too big or their short-term need for a companion has ceased of being needed. And they just return them instead of being like a very lifelong friendship and companionship to take care of them as best as your ability, because they grow attached to you. I've talked about that in a previous episodes, one of the episodes recently, that they grow attached to you. And it's very hard to let them go when you have to let them go for, you know, different reasons, not just adoption. So yeah, so I'm just a little tired here. I'm trying to form the words too tonight. Like, take for a dog, for example, right? Or just any kind of, you know, at least for what I can understand, warm-blooded animals to some degree. Like cats, dogs. I can't tell you about ferrets for the life of me. They you know, they become tame with you, you know, over time, and they become more and more reliant on you, excited to see you and stuff like that. And there's this companionship where it's a very interesting experience when you go through it. And so you want to make it as comfortable as you can with the animal and stuff like that, with the limited time he or she has on the earth. And so excuse me, my throat here. I didn't know we had XL floor here. So it's kind of hard to form words here with this kind of topic, I suppose, about pets and stuff like that, animals. Pets are going to remember what you do for them, you know? And they're going to appreciate what you do for them if you do it right. They're going to grow attached to you, and they're going to think about you. I mean, animals are smart. Like, take it for a dog, right? You know, a dog, you're gone for long hours or stuff. Sometimes cats even. You're gone for a while, and they kind of howl, get sad, stuff like that. But then when you come back home or something, like, they're super excited to see you again. It's this bond that holds things together between a person and an animal. Range up. And as such with animals, it's just things can happen with animals too, you know, health issues and stuff, and they can abruptly put things into a sling, so to speak. And so it's one of the things that kind of sucks, honestly, that an animal, you know, you get, you know, doesn't live forever. Not forever, but you know what I mean. Live just as much as a human in most cases. They age faster than humans too, because, you know, yeah, their DNA is different, of course. So, you know, I mean, compared to what kind of dog you get or something like that, like they can age faster than other dogs, but for the most part, they're kind of relatively the same. They don't have a long lifespan. Usually, smaller dogs have longer lifespans than bigger ones, but also certain species have certain conditions and stuff that could jeopardize their way of living in the future, potentially. And so, and when I see stories from time to time, not time to time, well, once in a blue moon, I'd see stories about some person hurting an animal and stuff, and it's not right. Or people mistreat animals. Speed up. It's another one. They mistreat them, thinking that they get some kind of thrill and power over a creature. Whatever size it is, doesn't matter, like... I mean, there's nothing to do with veganism or anything. It has to do with pets, of course. Before I go too far into this discussion, it's about, yeah, it's about, you know, giving respect, the respect it deserves, this animal. And if you can't give the respect, there's no reason to have an animal. It's the thing. Not saying you, essentially you, the viewer, specifically listening to. I'm saying you as in the figurative you, like, you know, a person that I'm addressing that, you know, does that kind of harm to animals. But, I mean, I've seen animals deteriorate, over the years, and, I mean, I hear about it too, and it's an unfortunate thing. And so with something like that, so I'm kind of lost of words tonight. It's kind of hard to like piece this together, so to speak. It's just that it's just weird to think about with animals. It's like pets, I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, animals in general are weird, right? I mean, you got all sorts of weird snails and stuff like that. Weird jellyfish that can self-replicate their DNA so they can reverse aging somehow. That's some weird stuff. Weird-looking bugs and stuff. Yeah, it's just a lot of stuff like that. But getting to the point with animals, it's like when you get an animal, it's like, now just keep in mind, I don't have any kids or anything, but like it's kind of like having a kid. Now, but before you say, well, how do you know what it's like to have a kid if you don't have a kid? Well, I mean, like, I know people who had children and interacted with them, and children are a very surreal thing. Like, to to interact with. Especially if it's close to somebody that you know that has a kid, and you hold. Like, I never held a baby before. Well, I mean, I have, but like different circumstances. But that was like, you know, many, many, many years ago. And then recently I had that experience shortly before COVID started, and there's something different about it. Like, there's something really new, something really magical about it. Even though I wasn't a parent or anything, it's something else that's coming to rise out of it. And I think pets are the same thing too. It gives you this otherworldly feeling when you're taking care of an animal, a pet. And it's also another surreal and unusual feeling when they pass on, both a pet and a person. You know, someone that you're close to or something, right? So and I say surreal because I'm going to just take this just in case here and then try it. All right. Good thing I did that. All right, down the next floor here. Actually, you know, let's go to the curse room. So it's weird, right? So in one regard, it's a new experience. They have a pet or a new infant. And it's this very surreal experience in its own regard. But then on the flip side, if this, you know, if a particular person in your life or animal passes on, then it's got its own kind of surrealness and weirdness to it. Weird feeling to it. Like with an infant and an animal, it's like you're starting to build a relationship with them, right? The same thing with a baby. And then, you know, same thing holds true to like a person you're close to, as well as a a pet that sorry, I was laughing at that ghost that got decimated there. I need to be careful with this run. Got some good stuff going on here. It's like when you have a child or you have a pet, you're building new experiences and you're trying to figure out, you know, how to deal with the challenges of having a pet or a child, and you're trying to do the best of your ability for the most part to take care of that need for them, their needs. And then on the flip side, if death comes around and, you know, takes someone close to you, or, you know, either a person or an animal, then it's like, then it's more the lines of learning to so I think it's kind of a learning process. So what I'm saying is like, okay, so let me finish this thought here first. You're building experiences you have never experienced before in this surreal environment with an animal or with a pet or a child. And when something happens to them, or, you know, with somebody else you're close to, whether it's the pet or a person, could be even your child or something, then it's like, then you hit in this weird phase where it's like, rather than trying to figure out how to address their needs and build these memories anew, you're you're learning to take away that kind of process because, you know, death abruptly ended it. And so oh god, that almost got me. Sneaky bugger. Oh no. I need to get some health somehow. I gotta be extra careful. No bombs, okay. I've been playing a little sloppy here. Toxic shock's not bad. Not a health upgrade, but if we're very careful, maybe we'll pull through here. Maybe. And so, I mean, it sounds like I'm kind of physiological or whatever, being like a philosopher or some sort or something like that, right? So, kinda, sorta. Animals, I mean, pets and stuff in general, they deserve some kind of attention and everything else in order to thrive. And the proper attention is what I mean, not like, oh, well, it could die of having the lack of attention. I mean, like, you could theoretically tie it to that, depending on the context. Well, no, what I was meaning was, where is my soul hearts? I need soul hearts before I die here. Black hearts? Come on. Oh, he lets me keep a heart. Good. I thought it just gonna take both of them away and then I'd be screwed. Okay. Well, I guess we'll go down the next floor here. So, anyways, going back to the point here. If I can remember the point. Pets. No, infants, whatever. You never want to slack off. I mean, duh, I guess that's a pretty duh moment there for me to say that, duh. Because I've known people who slacked off on things, in particular things like that, and it cost them kind of dearly, and unfortunately they're not the kind of people who acknowledge that they messed up. Well, I messed up. Good timing, I suppose, for saying that. Seed here is HXKB2CET, and I'll acknowledge that. So anyways, getting back to the point, oh my god, my tears rate's even worse than my run recently, a while back. So what I'm saying is, excuse me, damn, my throat. Saying I'm a lot, huh? It's not unusual for me to be saying that quite a bit lately. It's just that, yeah, animals are very sensitive creatures, just like infants, right? Just like any other kind of person. Infants are more sensitive because they're more vulnerable to any kind of changes in life, and that could shape them to what they be in the future. Pets are like kind of similar like that too. I mean, if you're a bad pet owner or something, they can just turn on you and be violent against others, you know what I mean? Their temperament. So, and taking care of an infant or a person or an animal, what have you, usually reflects on the person that is taking care of them. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if a person who does the bare bones minimum, and they don't want to contribute much to anything, to, you know, taking care of you know, say an infant or an animal, then it reflects on, you know, their own self-esteem of things in life, and they're going to take it out on whatever and whoever and whatever. Subconsciously. At times. Well, yeah, usually subconsciously that's the case. Or deliberate. It kind of depends on the person, I suppose. We don't need to go that far in that, I guess, but I mean, I knew people who did kind of a bad job with taking care of pets. I knew a person too that did a bad job taking care of an infant. And like, you know, properly speaking to an infant, for example. I talked about it a while back about the book 30 Million Words. Basically, essentially, the gist of it is interacting with your child on a regular basis in different kinds of ways in order to build up vocabulary and life skills, so they can thrive in the future. Otherwise, if you don't do it properly, you hardly want nothing to do with your child. The child's going to end up having severe detrimental issues for the rest of its life. And there's no reversing the course of things once, you know, they get at a certain age if it's not addressed in time. It's very similar with pets, right? Kind of, in a way. Pets, they thrive on affection like children. They thrive interaction like children. And they crave that. They crave a human interaction, a human touch, you know, someone that's not gonna yell at them or hit them or something, you know. A child craves that, and sometimes people can be so blinded to this very humoristic nature that they just got to keep doing what they're doing in order to control the situation on their own hand. Controlling a creature, you know, through like means of manipulation and harm. Whether it be psychological, physical, environmental, you name it. That water helps. We got a little bit of a damage up, so that's nice. Tears up too. Hope I don't die again on this run. So that's the thing. It's, you know, kind of spitballing out here. I mean, a lot of what I'm saying is basically, well, duh. I mean, it's basically human nature, like, you know, good and moral and ethical, you know, standards. But there's people out there who don't follow that, and they cause a lot of harm and stuff against whatever creature they have there, whether it's a pet or a person. Like, if you know someone that has a pet or something and, you know, they're doing the bare minimum, you can't really do a whole lot, right? You know, unless they're doing something very, very nasty and severe, like severely beating the dog or smacking a cat around real hard or starving an animal or anything like that. unless it's those things, you could do something. You can do something about it, but it's this other stuff where they do the bare minimum and not hold them and love them properly and give them the affection that they need and things like that. This kind of this cruel neglect in life where it kind of pains you seeing it happening, and you can't. So, I mean, in those kind of circumstances where it's like, you know, you want to do something about it, but you can't because the circumstances are around it to where it's not illegal under certain circumstances, and they know this, and it's an unfortunate thing, I'll say, having no control over those kind of aspects of things, you know? And like pets, you know, what if you like move away and then you have like somebody who takes a pet, for example, that, you know, you kind of grew up with or something, and they're going to take it under their wing to take care of it, or even a child too, or whatever. And then as you visit occasionally, I mean, a child, you can report it pretty simply enough, but like an animal, it's a little bit more difficult. And then let's say off and on you go visit this animal with this person, and they're deteriorating more and more, and they're not getting the proper care, treatment necessary to feel comfortable in living. And despite, and let's say like your friend or something tries their best to provide resources with maybe assisting with it if you're short on money or what the deal is, and they need maybe assistance maybe with assets in order to help boost the functionality for an animal, like say vet bills or haircuts or something. And well, that's short term. It's like, you know, you got those other stuff that kind of stacks on top of it to where, you know, essentially it would be nearly impossible unless you're actually living there to take care of it. Also, I had a blank screen and then it just came back on again. What's going on here? I'd be like a loose HDMI cable. I think we're fine. So, then what do you do? Like, you know, what control do you have? Like, say, if you're the one giving the resources, or somebody else gives the resources that you know that's trying to help you or something, but those resources that's provided to them is not being utilized like they should by the responsible parties. Like, what do you do? It's a very complex answer. I know it's like a very hypothetical thing. I'm just kind of spitballing like examples here, I suppose, of scenarios. For me, it's like, if I was kind of put in that position where an animal of mine was being watched by somebody, I mean, I would either take the animal back if I could, or I just have to accept that despite what I can tell them that they should do, and they won't listen about doing it, I'm gonna have to let go. Oh no! Don't let me go right now. There we go. Tears up. Well, I need some damage. Whatever. We can pop this to the next floor. And I'm not trying to say it in a crappy way where it's like, oh wow, I can't do anything about it. Game over. I mean, if the people are ignorant enough to where they can't, or they don't want to change for the better and help an animal or a person or whatever out, then it's like, what good does it do to keep trying to encouraging them, or say you try to give them things to do it, what point would that be at all for that kind of thing? Like, no point. Like, for example, I've talked about a while back about learned helplessness. And that's which means like someone who has learned to not doing, how do I even describe it? It essentially means like it's a person who has learned over time to not give it their all and try to rely on somebody else to do the work for them, this harder stuff. And so they kind of stuck in this loop of not doing things for themselves properly. And so, in this regard, this is interesting here, gilded key. Less is more. More gold chests, less other chests. What I'm saying is here is, even paying an individual to do the work for you to take care of your particular pet or person or whatever the context may be with that thing. And these people are, you know, deliberately doing it. They're known to be deliberately doing it over the years. Then what's the point of giving them resources to try to use those resources to give to an animal or to a, you know, a person that's needed, you know, for things, if they're not going to be regularly taking care of them. You know what I'm saying? So I can't even get over there. Are you kidding me? I can't get on the other side over there. Well, hopefully that stays put. Hopefully I could find like a, oh God. Right. A soul heart. Well, no, see, not even a soul heart. We need like more red hearts. We're gonna pull this off, like 2 of them. Or a bunch of soul hearts. Or, you know, a bunch of red hearts. Or a bunch of soul hearts, whatever. Well, that gives us red candle. I should get red candle. So what I'm saying is, if a person who has this concept of learned helplessness, who is also lazy, and they don't want to contribute much into keeping a living creature alive, you know, like properly, you know, taking care of a creature properly, then what good is it to give them money or give them resources to keep this thing up? Keep, you know, what you prized up in this ordeal. And I could see how, with things like that, you want to do something for the best for the animal or to the person that was, you know, shifted from this place that you once were with them, and circumstances happen to where you can't take them in. I can understand that sentiment with wanting to help, but then the problem comes down to an individual or individuals who will not want to do anything for the betterment of, you know, pet kind or our animal kind or, you know, humankind. You know, generic virtue. Hey, we got some soul heart stuff. We can do this, I think. If it's open, if that portal's open. Which I didn't check if it was closed again or not. It might be. So yeah, on the one hand, it's like, oh wow, it's good for you know, this thing. There's nothing wrong with like giving money to you know, help someone in need. You know, do you think that they need, need it, you know, in a certain way, or helping someone or helping an animal out, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to throw that out there straight up. There's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is the problem is if you got someone who has possession of an animal or a child, and they're not doing their duties and they're purposely being abusive to them or something, and then you're giving them resources, or you're giving this person or animal things in order to you know, better adapt to their conditions, his or her conditions. I'm sorry to say, but like, it's somewhat of a wasted effort. Sort of. I guess it depends on the context, I suppose. So like with an animal, I guess it's a little different, I suppose. A child is going to remember who you are always, and they have a longer lifespan, or a person in general. But if it's a animal, I mean, they'll remember you to a point, but they only have, you know, so long to live. And so, and I'm not trying to say like it's a bad thing that, you know, if a person's giving resources to whoever in order to, like, you know, help the other person out or animal. I'm just saying, how am I saying this? I need to say it properly here. I'm trying to like spin around here to make it sense out of it, out of this analogy. I think with having someone doing such a thing on purpose through laziness, perhaps self-sabotage, which learned helplessness, I guess, is in a way maybe some form of self-sabotage, and just general psychotic neglect, perhaps. I mean, some people are different, right? So it could be like that, or it could be something else. But I'm just listing out different examples here. I mean, if they were like purposefully neglectful of an animal, of a person, and they know that, and they'll, you know, use it to their advantage, then they're going to, I mean, they're a very dark person themselves, and they have a very low self-esteem of themselves in general as to why they're doing that. And so I guess it just depends on your circumstances. I guess what it comes down to this context here, the point here. It depends on your context, you know. But I mean, it costs resources, it costs time, it costs whatever else for you to feel like you have to address. It's kind of like when you have a presentation, right? I can't get over there. Darn it all. Say you have a presentation come up for school, right? And you're paired up with a partner that you were randomly chosen to be paired up with, and you don't like this person because they are lazy, and you know that they're lazy and incompetent and manipulative. And they get paired up with this person, and surprise, surprise, you're doing all the work for this project, this precious project you got on hand. And where's I going with this? And so, like, you have to pick up the slack because you feel there's a deadline, right? There's a deadline. You want to make sure this is spruced up, make sure everything's taken care of. You know what I mean? Things like that. And I've had stuff that's happened to me before with that kind of stuff in regards with projects. people purposely being lazy, and then I picked up the slack with the work, and then I'm like basically the only one doing the behind the scenes work. Very crappy stuff. Very like sadistic crap, in my opinion, with that aspect. So I guess I could just use my example, I suppose. So like, yeah, with group stuff and whatever I did years ago, it was frustrating. I'd say it was frustrating. It was irritating, and I was under pressure because it was all tied to my grade, which I guess in this, you know, example with pets or a person or something like that, it's, you know, it's tied to the person or whatever, and your efforts is what's kind of the efforts you're putting into this person or thing. And then the other people just kind of slack off and they don't want to do anything. Well, not do anything, but they'll do the very bare minimum. Nothing that's gonna be like worth the damn. Sometimes. Are we getting like more chances of getting like item drops or something? Is that like an ability here, or is it something else here? We're getting some goodies. Man, reverse strength card would be good. Filigree feather. Well, we didn't take any devil items, so we could do this. Oh my god. Out of all the crappy ones here. I get this little bastard. I think maybe we'd be fine without the other thing. I think we'd be fine. So, yeah, I guess essentially what I was saying was, it's the sense of feeling like you're trying to put what you can into something, and then, you know, as a group thing, or as a collaboration, as a, you know, whatever, right? And they don't want to put anything into it because of pure laziness, self-sabotage, you know, what have you, or combination of whatevers. Can't get over there, huh? Let's try something here, maybe. Wow, never mind. I had a weird feeling I was going to do that. I guess we go down to the next floor here. Yeah, not a whole lot to see. Okay. Go on down. Paradise City. So you might be wondering, well, okay, I guess in the maybe just stick with the pet, I suppose, not like a person, too, because that gets complicated, as an example. So, as such, with that kind of thing, I mean, you could find, like, alternatives, I suppose, of, like, you know, get them out of that environment or something. But say, hypothetically, you couldn't. Then what do you do? Well, if they're not breaking the law, then there's nothing you really can do. You have to just watch it in slow motion, basically. And I think with someone like that, it's like... You have to make your best judgment call whether to continue trying to give them the resources needed to get this addressed in the midst of individuals who don't want to get it addressed on purpose. Or continue knowing that what you're doing. I mean, there's also a sense, too, I suppose, that even though there's no hope, I suppose, to some degree, in the matter, with, you know, influence, at least you know, I guess, in the end, that you tried your best, right? Like, you know, you've done what you can for this animal that somebody has, and... Oh, that was really lucky. Yeah, baby damage. I was just like thinking to myself, oh, I'm gonna get magic mush maybe. I got it. No, but like there's, I forgot what the word's called. There's a word for it where you're kind of, I guess it's called, what is it called? I have the tip of my tongue here too. I mean, partly resilience, partly dedication, but there's like something else to it. I forgot the word. I might come back to it pretty soon. But on the flip side, there is some good to it in its own regard, that at least that what you've done for this, you know, person or animal speaks volumes of what you are as a person. You want to like do something right for this person, do something right for this animal, despite the odds against you with someone who is responsible of that's supposed to be responsible of taking care of them, and they're not. And they do it deliberately. There is something about that where you don't want them to. Not gonna understand it. Some people are not used to it. Something like that. This kind of thought process where it's like, sometimes, I guess when you're so deep into it, you don't really think about it. I guess it's another thing I gotta consider here. It's like if you're so deep into this process, so deep into it that you don't have like much of a perspective of things other than the usual merry-go-round of things. It's kind of hard to like pull away from that and be like, well, wait a minute, something doesn't seem right here. You know what I mean? In certain regards. And so, as saying such, it shows, I mean, it's not really to say so much that it's in vain. It's not, because it has its own merits, right? It has its own merits of the self-satisfaction of knowing that what you did was the best you could do with your ability and resources and time that you had left with this person or, you know, animal, and that you spend as much time as you can with them, and you tried your best, I would assume, in certain cases, but I assume that you tried your best with working with these individuals who refuse to know the truth and listen to what should be done. And it's kind of hard to really pull back out of that, you know, when you're so deep into it and you're tied to, especially if you're really tied to a person or to an animal that you deeply care about, and someone is there kind of destroying things and refusing to acknowledge any sense of morale and understanding whatsoever. No matter how many different ways you put it, they will never budge, kind of thing. And I think with that kind of thing, kind of circumstances, is you have someone like that, and you feel like if you're in like a similar boat or something like that with that kind of thing, know that what you've done was the best of your ability, the resources and time you've got. It's not out of vain that you did it. Something happened, or something is happening, and don't feel like you haven't done enough. Because if you fall in this thought process that you haven't done enough for this person or animal that somebody else has taken possession of, then you're going to live with regrets. And regrets are a terrible thing to live with. I was talking with somebody recently, and they were having some regrets and things going on in their life, and I told them, like, straight up, he done what he can with his ability of things that lead up to this point, and it's very difficult to, you know, put more effort into it, you know what I mean? I mean, some people have an issue with putting more effort into something, or struggle with that kind of concept, where they're not putting as much as they should, like saying homework or something. Which I admit I've had issues with that off and on over the years, not putting enough effort in there, and then I'm under constant pressure of trying to pass my classes near the end of the semester, and I do it like every time. I don't know what that is. It's something I've developed and whatever. But that's kind of my own, like, little spiel with that skill part. But, like, I suppose. But no, it's just know that what you did wasn't, you know, enough to your ability. I mean, there could be, like, certain circumstances where you feel like maybe you could have done a little bit more, maybe. But don't fall in the trap where it's like you haven't done enough, period. Or you didn't put enough money into it, or, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? You know, you could have done this, you could have done that. That's all tied to regrets. Don't fall for that. And let's say, like, you know, if this individual or something, or animal falls into that kind of thing, you know, something happens to them, right? And then they're kind of out of your life somehow. Whether death, whether something else has come up, what have you, right? And that usually crops up, or like the sentiment I was talking about before about feeling like if you did enough or not. Sometimes that a lot of that can kind of crop up after, you know, death or something else happens usually. A certain circumstance, of course. I mean, it can happen with different people with different things even before any of that ever happens. It's true. But you kind of wonder, you know, to yourself, well, were those kind of circumstances and something happens to them, then, and you're not, and you acknowledge that, say, that you've done what you can, and you did it for the person, and you did it out of respect, love, and, you know, dignity and human compassion, etc., etc. But if someone is like, sometimes if someone's deeply, it's like losing, like, I guess, a spouse, or, you know, any kind of loved one or whatever. This could probably apply to that too. It's like, you know, if you lose out to somebody you cared about over the years, then it kind of leaves a hole in your heart, right? I mean, I think at some point, some of us have felt that quite a bit. And it's one way or another, you know? Whether it could be like a person, an animal, heck, it could even be like a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards you left behind or something, right? When you're a kid. You know, things like that. at least kind of a hole in your heart somewhat, to some degree. I mean, it's all varying and it's all specific. It all depends on the person and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is, like, essentially, to some degree, at least some kind of a hole within yourself, right? And so then, say you're so reliant on that kind of thing, then it's like, well, what do I do now? You know, let's say you put all this energy into, you know, helping this individual or this animal out, and something happens to them, and there's no reason, there's no longer a not a no reason, well, kind of. So there is no there's no longer a need to say, man, I'm bad with words tonight. Like, there's no longer a need to fulfill that desire to help another being out with your resources and time and whatever else. If something happens to them to some regard that they can't utilize it, then, you know, whether, you know, something blocks you from getting to it, or it could be something tied to death, it could be a number of things, but sometimes people can be so tied up to a person. I don't know if I want to go down there, by the way, now I think about it. Sometimes people can be so wrapped up to a person and animal. I'm not saying it as an insult. I guess attached is a better word, not wrapped up. If someone is more lines of attached to another person or animal deeply, and something happens to them, then in some cases it could be like, well, how can I live without this, you know, person or animal? Or how can I, you know, what's the point of, you know, X, you know, if, no, that's a bad example. What's the point of doing a, you know, say a thing, or spend money on a thing for this living creature if something is blocking you from doing it in some regard? And how can you live with yourself with that kind of like circumstance? Like, what can you do now that this person or animal is whether out of your life or, you know, in some way or another? What can you do? And the answer to that is, well, it's a complex answer. I'm just kind of spitballing here. It's a very highly complex scenario. I suppose I keep building more different things up and stuff, I guess. That sometimes happens. But if there's no red room right there. If you get in that kind of position, I'd say try. I'm just saying this out of respect. I'm not trying to be insensitive or anything whatsoever with this. But I mean, there's a time to grieve or whatever it is, depending on what the circumstances call to it. Usually it's grieving. But if you come to that point, I would say that by becoming more self-reliant on yourself and learning that what happened, you've done the best of your ability. Now it's time to learn to live without this creature or individual in certain circumstances, and try to learn to be independent from that. And I'm not, like I said before, I'm not saying it in a cruel way where it's like, oh, forget the other person or animal, da da da. You know, now it's time to move on, baby. No, I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying, because what I'm saying is, if you can't move on, and you don't feel like, well, what's the point? It's kind of like with relationships, right? If you're in a relationship with someone, and you're so deeply attached to them, and then all of a sudden you have to break up somehow, whether by death or they just break up or get a divorce or whatever, and you're, say, attached to them very deeply, to the point where it's like, oh, I don't know how to live with myself without this other person. I don't know how I'm going to function and stuff like that. I mean, it's got its own regards sometimes. Like, it may not, you know, be like to that full regard, or it could be some elements to it. You know what I mean? You know, like you don't go out as much, for example, or you don't associate with people as much anymore. You know, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you were so adapted to that lifestyle with things that you know, when you're experiencing it with an individual, it's no longer the same anymore, right? I've been there. I've been there with that kind of stuff. Those circumstances, you know, it catches you off guard sometimes. Or when they happen, they catch you off guard. And then it's all about trying to learn to adapt, I guess to say. Because I've made a lot of changes over the years on myself, and there were some difficult changes that I had to learn to accept and also adapt to. And I'm glad that I persevered and went forward instead of being stuck into the past. I know people who were stuck in the past and they hadn't learned to adapt out of it when times of trouble come up. Now, keep in mind, I'm not talking about like, you know, people who are suffering with trauma and be like, well, it's, you know, it's easy to get out of it and all that. You just have a different mindset and everything. A lot of people can't get out of that. And not everybody's like that cunning and that dedicated to make those significant changes in life. Everybody's different. So I'm not saying like, you know, if you got some extreme hardship that's happened to you, some traumatic thing or whatever, I'm not saying that you can just pull it out of the whim. People are different. People are built different for a reason. And kind of keep in mind when I guess talking about this, it's kind of late to talking about it now, is that I'm not really, I'm giving you my, like a kind of both like anecdotal and also hypothetical, weirdly enough. So like some of my experiences as well as like experiences, not experiences, but as like scenarios of things. Examples that I've seen people, you know, happen with people and stuff. And so keep that in mind. This is not like legal advice, psychology advice, whatever. I don't know why I brought it up, but like, I didn't bring it up at the beginning, I mean, with this disclaimer, but here it is. So, as such, let's go back to the topic here, I guess, in hand. We'll take this. I think we have spectral tears already, don't we? Maybe. I guess we'll take it. We'll get the one heart anyways later on. No, it screws up my angel deals, I suppose. Then again, we're getting close to the end, so like, we probably won't get as many opportunities here. So what I'm saying here is, going back with this is, if you can, and if you know, try to move forward. If you're having issues moving forward, you could seek some advice from, I don't know, family member, you know, a therapist, who have you. You know, take one day at a time, you know, don't go too hard into it. I know some people try to push very hard into things, and they should. Usually it takes, you know, it takes incremental steps, right? Or sometimes it can be a very significant change. It just kind of depends on the circumstances. Like I said before, it's because by moving forward, you can you can it's part of letting go, right? And there was a great quote I heard years ago from a video game, Fallout New Vegas, which is like a DLC or something. I know, it's a little corny. A video game, huh? Or hear me out here. And it was talking about the Sierra Madre, which was a DLC in New Vegas. And it was talking about, they're talking about in a group, you know, they're talking like each of the lines with each of the different characters in the cutscene. And they're talking about Sierra Madre, essentially, and saying, finding it, that it's not the hard part, it's letting go. And what it essentially means is Sierra Madre was a place that was hidden. I'm not going to go too much into specifics about the lore of this place, but essentially Sierra Madre was hidden away in the world, and it had all these rumors of riches and everything else. It's this big, extravagant casino. And so people were going around looking for a way to get into it, as well as to find in it. And there's all these riches, secrets, things like that. And people were very desperate to doing that, to the point they're risking their lives to get there. And so in this context, what they were talking about was you know, finding Sierra Madre. That's not the hard part. It's letting go. It essentially means letting go of the past, which is essentially, that was the past, because the Sierra Madre was a facility that was supposed to open or something like that, I think, before the bombs fell. You know, this is part of the lore of Fallout, of course. But it didn't. And there was just kind of this perch somewhat with some like characters of trying to restore the old glory days. I don't know if I want that thing. Nice try, Satan. Anyways, there's another quote too. I'm gonna pull it up here real quick. Okay, I'm back. So this was also a DLC. Another quote here. DLC from Fallout. It was from the old World of Blues. It's about the science research facility hidden in Big Mountain. So the quote here says, well, it's supposed to say Old World Blues, and then followed by, it refers to those who are obsessed with the past. So obsessed with the past. Okay, we're going to restart here. Old World Blues. It refers to those so obsessed with the past they can't see the present, much less the future, for what is. They stare into what was, eyes like pilot lights, guttering and spent as a realities. Man, I butchered that. Let me start over again. I'm sorry. They stare into what was, eyes like pilot lights, guttering and spent as the realities of their world continue on around them. Essentially, it means that as you are stuck in the past, the reality is everything else around you is continuing as you're stuck into it. You know what I mean? And it kind of goes with what I was saying here before, right? It kind of goes with this need to adapt and to change and to move on. I'm not saying it as a mean way, but to move forward is what I mean. And that what you did was not in vain. What you did was what you believed at the time was the right thing to do for this individual or this animal. And now it's time that now this individual or animal, what have you, is unable to be interacted or in those ways anymore, or something's happened with them. And you can't do anything about it. You can't control it or anything. Then it's the process of learning to let go. And letting go is a very difficult thing, let me tell you. I think a lot of people are, I think everybody has had some form of issues of letting go, right? Like a variety of things. Letting go of anger against somebody, letting go of letting go of things that's happened to you in the past. You know what I mean? Just like anything in general, like somebody, you know, did something to you and you think about it for years. And it's very hard to let go. Oh, sty. Why not here? Oh, I guess we'll go this way, maybe a little bit. Maybe, no. Trying to see, maybe I could find something here. Yeah, letting go, it's just, like I said with that one quote, it's not the hard part, it's oh yeah, I mean, not letting go is the hard part. Or easy, not the hard, you know what I mean. Pain is not the hard part, it's letting go, that's what I was trying to say. And how do you let go? I struggle with that with a lot of aspects of my life over the years. In some circumstances, I have let go. The things have changed dramatically, shifted significantly in my life. In ways that I knew that it would be a matter of time before something of that magnitude would happen. And I would have no control over it, which I essentially, I guess part of it is just kind of relinquishing control when you let go, right? Oftentimes we people, you know, have sometimes this sense that we have to control everything, or, you know, whatever, in different circumstances in order to keep things either functioning or whatever, depending on the circumstances, like I've said. And when you let go, you're letting go of control too. You're relinquishing control to whatever you're letting go. And when you try to control things for so long, you know, sometimes it can lead to an obsession, right? Let's see here. What do I want? I think maybe we'll take Satanic Bible for some health, maybe. Red key is great, but we're not gonna. I don't want to be messing around here anymore. I got faint survivability. Ah! So yeah, letting go. I'm not saying letting go of the idea that, in the sense that, oh, I should be forgetting about this person or this animal and da-da-da. No, nothing like that. You cherish those memories, you know, the good memories of them. I mean, like, letting go about, like, the negative stuff, I suppose. Which I do struggle with that. I'm not saying, like, I'm, you know, some perfect peach or something where it's like, oh, yeah, I do it all the time. No, you hear me rant off and on about Halo and everything else. Like, I'm no saint. I'm not a priest or anything. I'm not be like, oh, I'm absolutely perfect. Just the way I am. No. I've got flaws like everybody else. Everybody's got flaws. Different one ways or another, you know? And I struggle with, you know, letting go. I struggle with wanting to, you know, relinquish control in things in life. Based on, like, you know, life circumstances has happened to me. I'm still, man, I'm still learning. I'm still, like, adapting. Trying to figure out some ways to let go, you know? I mean, I could say, oh, just let go of this negative stuff or whatever, but easier said than done, and I struggle with it. I'm not saying, like, oh, well, I'm a great example or anything. No. I struggle a lot. There's people that are better than me with adapting, with things like that, letting go. I assume, like, Buddhist monks are pretty good with that, for example. Is that right? Buddhist monks? Yeah. Because they're part of their, I think it's a religion, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Duh. Yeah, Buddhism's a religion. Part of their traditions is letting go. Even the Native Americans, so I guess it depends on the Native American tribe and stuff. They, part of the thing is not being judgmental. I struggle with that a lot, I'll admit. And, which is a form of, like, oh, how I say it, I guess it's in its own form of kind of letting go, isn't it? It's letting go this typical automatic behavior of being judgmental against people. You're building a strength to resist the urge. And so you're relinquishing control of the old habits of yours in order to adapt for the new. Similar to letting go. Yeah. And I remember listening into a Native American tribeswoman who was talking about the rules of the or settlement and or tribe, I mean, whatever. Well, settlement, tribe, I guess it's very similar, but and kind of the rules that people have to abide by and stuff based on cultural things and also, like, kind of humanic means. Finding it is not the hard part, it's letting go. Like, that's a very powerful line, as well as the other line from the other DLC. As funny as it came from a video game compared to like, oh, I say like some famous like historical person or whatever. I can't come up with something to fly, I'm sorry. Also, why did it turn from coins to a pill? I don't mind the blue balls of steel pill, but still. I gotta understand I could do that sometimes with like other stuff, but like trinkets, but I guess if it's like a secret chest like that, spike chest, then it'll turn into something else unless you get like maybe the Magneto item where you can open chests without tripping the trap. Then I suppose you could get those very items that were in that chest originally. I wonder, that'd be a good like little Mythbusters thing. Be like, does that even work the way that I just said? Maybe next time. But yeah, it's... I mean, I know there's books out there that talk about this kind of stuff, that know more about than what I'm kind of saying here. I mean, I've read, you know, Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. I've read... Let's see, what else have I read? I've read, well, the mindfulness thing from, Eckhart Tolle or whatever his name is. I've read that. I mean, I've read different things, right? Over the years. Kind of a grasp and knowledge of stuff. Even Psycho-Cybernetics was a very highly popular book and really good. Just kind of dabbled on that kind of thing, right? The meaning of, like, moving forward and making a change. And I've retained a lot of it from reading books. Not much. I forgot a lot of it. But they made some good points, and maybe perhaps I could write them down someday, but... And your experiences, if you have experiences like that or something similar or whatever, or something like that, you know, you are your own person, and choices that you decide to make and whatever is ultimately up to you. You are an adult, assuming you're an adult. If you're a kid, well, hi there. You might be a little confused if you're, well, I don't know. Like, I guess it depends on your age and circumstances, but like, you might be like, well, why would I care about this stuff? Be like a 2-year-old or something going through an iPad and listening to me talking about this randomly or something. It's like, yeah, I got goo-goo. What's that funny man saying? What is he talking about? Oh, nothing. He's getting deep into some things, I suppose. Maybe. He's talking out butt. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, so we're coming to kind of a close here unless we get a void portal. I'm just gonna come to a close here in case. Wrap it up here. I guess I went from like talking about pets and people to like some, you know, virtue, you know, dynamic, you know, spirit, probably even a little bit of spiritual and psychology kind of stuff. It's weird how things get spun around so quickly with conversations when I'm doing runs like these. I was trying to talk about pets and everything and examples of things and stuff and circumstances I've known of people that had stuff happen to them to some degree. I'd say if you're in those kind of circumstances or something kind of similar with that kind of complex issue, you know, take good care of yourself. Know that you're doing the best of your ability with things. I mean, it could be anything in life too, right? You could have any kind of struggle going on. You're trying to adapt to or whatever. And, you know, you're doing the best you can with things. Don't feel like, if you feel like you're doing enough for someone, you know, that's good. If you don't feel like you're doing enough, just let yourself know that you're doing what you can, and don't feel like it's out of vain if, well, I guess it depends on the circumstances, but like, I mean, what I say is like, that's such a complex issue tonight, huh? Can't really give examples, huh? Well, know that what you're doing is what you believe you think is right, and if you don't feel like you're doing enough, you can make, you know, adjustments to things if you need to, or accept that what you did was enough that you can do at the time with the limited time and resources that you got, I suppose. I'm not saying like follow the advice to the T or anything. Like I say, it's just my anecdotal experiences, examples. I'm not, you know, telling you to do something, because that'd be silly. Everybody's their own person. My throat's starting to, you know, close up here because of this talking. It's wearing down my throat. I've been talking a lot last couple of days, and my throat's definitely hitting a critical point here. So we're basically wrapping this up now. This run, we had a very good run. We screwed up the last run, but we pulled through. It got a little spicy at first, but I'm glad we took the one key. It gave us some extra items. That key trinket before we left that behind, and we got some other good stuff. So, and we didn't even pop our strength card. I just noticed. Well, anyways, I think that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Like us, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time, and take care.